the Board of Selectmen meeting for September 27th. Do we have a, do you want to have anything else? No?
That's it.
Have a vote to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as posted.
Second?
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, review discussion of Chapter 61 Pleasant Street Caulfield Realty Trust, notice of intent to convert to residential use. Robert?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you're aware, after the board had its last regular meeting, the town did receive a formal notice to convert the property mentioned by the chair from Chapter 61 for residential use. The notice was sent to town council and was verified to be sufficient to meet the legal requirements, thus started that statutory 30-day clock for the appraisal. So the purpose for the meeting per you, Mr. Chair, as you said at the last regular meeting, if we received a notice of intent, you would convene a special meeting to discuss the issue and the town's right at first refusal. I did take at that time as well, the CPC did indicate to the board that they were going to be meeting later tonight to potentially authorize funds for the said appraisal. As the board made clear, there is no funding in the FY17 budget or other funding sources for the appraisal. I did contact the appraiser. The appraisal could be met for the 30-day time frame, which would expire on October 24th. The appraisal could be done on the Caulfield piece by the town and be completed by October 20th. That would assume that the appraiser would get a green light tomorrow. The cost of the appraisal would be $2,500 to do that. Since we posted this meeting, I understand that the CPC isn't going to be meeting tonight due to a quorum issue and so forth. So again, I just want to be clear that in terms of the appraisal, the appraiser could meet the timeline. That was assuming it'd be ready, but for tomorrow, if there's a slight delay, I'm sure it could still be met. But I think the question is, the CPC is within its purview to approve the funds and to do an appraisal. It could do an appraisal, but the Board of Selectmen, as the executive body of the town, determines whether to call the public hearing and ultimately votes on the right of first refusal. So it seemed that if there isn't a green light from the board, respectfully, going through an appraisal and all of the efforts and so forth would not be, if you will, in the best interest. So that's, I think, the purpose of tonight. We do have, lastly, Mr. Chair, up on the screen for discussion, we do have the map. The yellow highlighted area is the piece that's referred to as the Caulfield Realty Trust. Is that piece there with the lines through it? That's the 61.
Can't you see it in the reflector?
Yeah. So that's, if you will, that would frame the issue.
And Robert, just a quick correction, it's October 22nd, would bring 30 days, and that's a Saturday, so I would say October 21st just to be.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So,
Okay.
and I think finally, and I know that the one of the owners is here and there are others, but as raised by Selectman Hillman at the last meeting of the board and others, there were questions about the viability of this piece in terms of access and so forth. So again, I think this would be the fair forum to discuss ultimately what direction is the town going to move in on this.
And the board get comments, questions?
As I stated last week, I'm all for open space. this parcel doesn't do it for me, being landlocked. I'd hate to, and the CPC obviously can spend their money where they want to. I just think there's more viable properties that would do the town better in the future that could become available that are in 61. So that's my opinion on this parcel.
Calvin, how many houses was planned to go in there?
That particular parcel is gonna probably be 4.5 to 5 houses, depending on where that line is, but that, my count, actually, I'm sorry, my cow field is, I believe it's 6 lots.
Okay.
Per the notice, it said something like 2 full lots and then 3 or 4
Which parcel of the others?
partial lots, yeah.
Okay. Beth? Yep.
So we certainly were never anticipating whenever we would be considering the Riley Jane Farm development coming up for Chapter 61 that we would be looking at them in isolation. And, you know, it's certainly up to the landowners to choose to file the way that they did, and they were. I know that it's up to them to file the way that they would like, and they did file simultaneously. But then with the issue of one of the letters not being adequate, you know, we got thrown off, and so we weren't able to consider them together. And now we do have certainly an issue of access. So whenever we realized that this was the case, I met with Calvin yesterday and tried to figure out if we could come to an agreement on accessing the parcel, or if he would be willing to offer an extension on the appraisal. And he said that he's very willing to work with us in the future, you know, should opportunities arise to truly put a path through here. But for now, he wasn't willing to alter the timeline and the projection for being able to get himself out of Chapter 61, and I can appreciate that. What I did in the last week was also reach out to the family that owns the properties that abut Washington Street, since that would make an option for accessing this property. And I actually heard back from them tonight. And they're not in a position at this time to work with the town, but they're, you know, they didn't dismiss it, but they said they're still settling their mother's estate. She passed away last year, and so they're not really in a position to take action now, but that, you know, they would be willing to talk with us in the future. So that said, without access to the property, I feel that it doesn't make sense for us to go forward with spending money on the appraisal at this time. But we really would like to hold Calvin and potentially CJ, you know, to being willing to work with us in the future if some other pieces fall into place, and we might actually have the option for just acquiring a portion of the parcel or working on an easement to be able to put a path through in the future. And I realize you might not have ownership at the time that comes around, but if you are in a position to entertain that, we would certainly appreciate it.
Just clarification, the 2 acres that is not in 61 and the 61A, the total of those are 6 house lots.
Okay.
So the exempt, is that what you mean, Calvin? Yeah, okay.
That
Yeah,
plus the 61 that were taken out is 6 house lots.
okay.
I also, it was a good productive meeting with Beth. I wish it happened a year ago, but unfortunately it didn't. But I also mentioned is that for them to kind of work on a program going right up Jackson Street, because I own that right away that goes out into the field, and I plan on clearing that right away out. I own the Jackson Street right away and also the Pleasant Street. Plan on clearing those out.
Okay.
Just to make this point, I know I've been adamantly against. Beth, I appreciate your work on this, and I appreciate you following up and researching it, because obviously sometimes people don't come into these things level-headed if they are very strong, feel strong about it, so I appreciate you.
You know, I actually don't have strong feelings about this, because I'm just, you know, it might not.
No, I know.
There's other properties I care a lot more about.
Yeah.
This is really just the opportunity for the path, but yeah, I mean, I think.
And
so I hope
truthfully,
that comes across.
if there wasn't a National Grid element and 6,000 easements and stuff, I might be more inclined to agree with you, but I think that could be a nightmare that we could be dealing with forever with them, so it's good that you did your
Oh, I
due
thought you were
diligence.
talking about you being level-headed.
I am level-headed occasionally, just like Donald Trump said last night. Here's the temperament.
Yes. Do you have anything to add? All right, we're all set.
No, I mean, just between the cost and it not being really a great spot, you know, it's just not viable. And again, thank you.
And this is why the Chapter 61 working group is such a good idea, and
Yeah.
really
Right, and we'll
keeps things
continue
for-
Yeah.
to meet, and Beth has been an invaluable member of that,
Yeah,
as have others.
She has a lot of knowledge.
And if I might add that this has been, an additional demonstration of the process and a learning process for us. The fact that with the portion that was in CJ's name for Riley Jane Farm, that it took town council 16, 17 days to come to a determination that the letters were
Mhm.
adequate, that set us back to a point where it was not feasible to conduct. And additional information was submitted from the Moores during that time, which I think, had, in hindsight, I would have asked that might have been a trigger to re-establish the clock and reset the date. So there's a lot of questions that come up through this process, and nothing is very clear. We all have a lot to learn, but it's certainly evident that we have to be ready to take action quickly, and I think there's a number of steps that the town can put into place to be better prepared to be able to act on these opportunities.
Yeah. We had talked about before that when we had a working group about open space, about approaching homeowners.
Right, yeah. And
I mean,
was
that's
one
how
of
the Tooker property came
Mhm.
about, really.
Right, right.
The group approached the family, and that's how it
Yeah.
worked, so.
Yeah, that was one of the implementation items that came out of the community preservation action plan that we had developed
Oh,
whenever
okay,
you and
right.
I were working together on CPC.
Yeah.
And that is something that is gonna come out of the open space plan coming out again. But this is one of the things that, and I know you've heard it a number of times, but for the town to have staff in a planning role that is able to really help implement all the planning efforts that we put a lot of really hard work into, that we're gonna be coming out with another open space and recreation plan, that, the last one that was drafted, when we went through that to review what was accomplished
Yeah.
over the, I think it was 16 years or something, 17 years since that one was actually done. There was very little that had actually been achieved, and we are, behind the eight ball. We don't have much time, to really work
Mhm.
towards achieving open space goals,
Mhm.
and it would really, really be helpful for those of us volunteering a lot of time and effort and energy to planning and implementation to have more significant support from a staff planner. And Carly and Robert have been great, but there's only so much, what they're doing, so there's only so much that they can do when it comes to implementing and doing, outreach to landowners
Mhm,
and
mhm.
working with butters and doing outreach to the land trust, which we have been making really positive steps with. Bonnie Tillotson from the Conservation Commission and I are gonna meet with North County Land Trust next week, and we used the area to be in the service area of that land trust, and then we got dropped off of the list, and now Bonnie approached them again, and they're actually very interested in talking to us about possibly coming underneath their wing again, which would be great for us to have a nonprofit that could help with sort of accounting and finance support, and certainly advising us with technical assistance and things like that when opportunities
Right.
arise, so,
Cool,
yeah.
thank you. We have, yeah.
I would make a motion that the town decline its first right of refusal on the Chapter 61 Pleasant Street Cowfield Realty Trust property.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do you have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yeah.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.